Come on. Come on, cut. Stupid safety scissors. Oh, hey. Ghoulash here. And, happy Valentine's Day. I guess. Yeah, I know, this video's probably not gonna be ready by Valentine's Day. My master, Dr. Wolfula, has insisted on having final edit on all my videos from this point forward, to make sure I don't say anything bad about him. Sometimes Dr. Wolfula can be a bit of a
great guy that everybody loves. You would totally never punch me to death for saying anything bad about him. Nobody in this universe or beyond is better than Dr. Wolfula. He's my best friend. He should totally run for president.
I still have burns on 70% of my body. Anyway, my master has tasked me with constructing a Valentine's Day card for his beloved wife, Meredith. She's, right over there. You don't see her either, do you? Yeah, when Dr. Wolfula first mentioned Meredith, I thought he was messing with me. But lately I've felt a strange presence here in the Wolfula air. Like there's someone else here. It's been here for a very, very long time, and it has sinister intentions. Oh well, I guess it can't be helped. Since you're here, I guess I'll review My Bloody Valentine's remake that came out in 2009. Man, it's really weird to think that movie came out 6 years ago. If I could age, I'd feel really old right now. When My Bloody Valentine's remake came out in theaters, it had 3D in the title, so it probably should go without saying that it's a 3D movie. Since it's a 3D film, this review should also be in 3D to get the full effect. Put on your 3D glasses now. Let's begin. Oh, my eyes! Oh, that didn't work like Dr. Wolfula said it would. Take off your 3D glasses. Oh, go to hell. Oh, just cut to the 2D review, please. Much like the original, My Bloody Valentine 3D's narrative is centered on a small town's legendary killer. The small town in this case is named Harmony, but the killer is still named Harry Warden. The origin story is skimmed over briefly before the opening credits through very cheesy-looking CGI newspapers. They're really selling the 3D with that cartoon pickaxe shattering a headline. I can tell that Industrial Light and Magic animated this. Okay, in brief, this film's backstory is mostly the same as the original film's backstory. On the Valentine's Day of '97, there was a cave-in at the Hanniger mine, trapping 6 miners. Only one of these miners, Harry Warden, survived, because he slaughtered the other miners to conserve air. Murdering 5 guys is exhausting work, so when Harry is rescued 6 days after the cave-in, he falls into a coma. You know, the remake sort of takes away from what made the original Harry Warden somewhat sympathetic. In the original, Harry is driven insane and becomes a killer due to PTSD, after being trapped in a mine for weeks, and being forced to eat his co-workers to survive. The remake's version of Harry Warden is just sort of a selfish dick. It's not a big deal, but it doesn't seem like something that needed to be changed. A year later, Harry wakes up from his long nap and goes on a revenge-fueled killing spree. Harry's primary target is the teenage son of the mine's owner, who neglected to vent the methane in the mine, causing the cave-in that trapped the 6 miners in the first place. So why is Harry brutally murdering other people like the hospital staff that took care of him for a year? I don't know. I guess he just liked killing people in general. I've been in a lot of comas, and I've found that I don't have the strength to do much of anything when I wake up from one, let alone cut someone in half. But who knows, maybe Harry Warden is just a morning person. The local teens of Harmony are having a Valentine's Day party at the abandoned mine that was the site of a tragedy just last year. Very respectful. The 3 main characters of My Bloody Valentine 3D are all attending the gathering. TJ, the dude responsible for trapping those miners a year earlier. Sarah, TJ's girlfriend, and, Axel, who is just some guy. I would like to take a moment to point out that, yeah, I know that in this movie the TJ character is actually named Tom, but the other 2 characters have the same names from the original movie, so I'm just gonna call him TJ anyway. Technically, it's still his initials, and it's better than calling him that guy from Supernatural. That's what I probably would have done instead. The party moves down into the mine because a cold, dark mine is the best place for a gathering in the middle of February. It's here in this mine where Harry Warden kills a great deal of Harmony's stupid teenager population.
Hey Michael, check this out! Some of the teens escape, including Axel and Sarah, leaving TJ behind for dead with good old Harry. Harry really savors the moment before killing TJ, giving these police officers ample time to show up and shoot at Harry. The crazed, bullet-ridden miner stumbles away with the cops in pursuit, with TJ left shell-shocked and with very wet pants. 10 years pass. Axel's now the Sheriff Dewey of Harmony, and Sarah is now a cashier. Oh, and she married Axel and had a child with him. You see, TJ left Harmony for years after almost getting his haircut ruined with a pickaxe, so Sarah had to pick up the pieces and settle for that guy from Dawson's Creek instead of that guy from Supernatural. It's not so bad, for Axel I mean, because he has a mistress that he visits out in the woods. It's really bad for Sarah. I'm pregnant. Okay, I guess it's also really bad for Axel. Sarah and Axel's relationship is put to the ultimate test when Sarah's old flame TJ returns to Harmony to sell off his dearly departed daddy's mine. The sale of the mine doesn't sit well with many of the residents of Harmony, and with Valentine's Day and the anniversary of the murders approaching, tensions are at an all-time high in this small town.
Fuck! He's back because of you! You were responsible! He wants you!
It also doesn't help that a guy in miner gear is pulling a Scooby-Doo, spooking the locals with some grisly murders.
It couldn't possibly be Harry Warden because, after all, the guy is dead.
The previous sheriff buried Harry's lifeless corpse in an unmarked grave in the middle of the woods. Harry absolutely cannot be the killer.
Right?
Except that Harry Warden's corpse has mysteriously disappeared.
You see, this is why you always cremate a serial killer. You can never be too sure. Their corpse might get, I don't know, struck by lightning, or somebody might read a convoluted voodoo chant next to it. Better safe than sorry is all I'm saying, okay?
My Bloody Valentine 3D has more of a story going for it than the original film did. There's a bit of a mystery surrounding the identity of the killer, who targets people that were primarily involved on the night Harry Warden supposedly died. TJ and Axel are constantly at odds in their own personal hunts for the killer, but the root of their conflict is their mutual romantic interest in Sarah.
You know she settled for you, right? My God. What did you just say to me? Sarah settled for you.
Look at you go! You hear me?
Even in another universe, TJ and Axel can't not beat the shit out of each other.
The story is fine for a slasher film, and it's nice that the film mostly deals with adults instead of teenagers for a change. The writing isn't exactly solid in the character department. I was never really attached to any of the main characters, but there was one character that stood out. This guy named Jim Burke.
Everybody stand down, God damn it!
The character is played by Tom Atkins. You know, that Tom Atkins, and that Tom Atkins. The guy was a real player. A minor issue that My Bloody Valentine 3D has going for it is that it doesn't really nail the holiday it's supposed to be about. Valentine's Day matters less in the remake than it did in the original. The only reason any of the murders are happening around Valentine's Day is because it's the day that the cave-in incidentally occurred. The makers of My Bloody Valentine 3D could have reinforced the importance of the holiday in some way, but that's not the case. We do still get the chocolate boxes with actual hearts inside.
No, thank you. I'm full.
I was a bit disappointed by how underused the mine was as a location. Sure, it's hard to justify having characters go into a mine, but the mine is what gave the original film an identity. It's like having a Friday the 13th movie not in a campground. Okay, bad example. Speaking of which, Todd Farmer, the writer of Jason X, is co-writer of My Bloody Valentine 3D.
I can't really hold Jason X against Todd Farmer. The guy was hired to write a movie where Jason goes into space and kills people. And Todd Farmer did the best he could, considering. I do hold a certain something in My Bloody Valentine 3D against Todd Farmer, though.
Todd Farmer has an acting role in the movie where his character is engaged in the only sex scene of the whole film. Todd Farmer has the gall to subject us to watching him pull up his pants in 3D. Ugh. If for some reason you've always wanted to see Todd Farmer's ass, this movie's got you covered.
You fucking weirdo.
Still, it's not as bad as when Tarantino appears in his own movies.
The fuck are you talking about?
When you think of any 3D slasher film, you'll probably think of Friday the 13th Part 3 first.
Maybe. Everybody's different.
Part 3 stands out as the only 3D entry in the franchise thus far, so the kills tended to be particularly ridiculous in order to have optimal screen popping. The makers even felt the need to show us all what a yo-yo looks like in 3D. It was all very stupid, in a fun way, especially if you're watching the movie without those nifty glasses. My Bloody Valentine 3D doesn't get as outrageous with the 3D effects, but the use of 3D is definitely as much of a gimmick in 2009 as it was in 1982.
If you have the means to see My Bloody Valentine 3D in 3D, then go for it, because it really does seem like the whole point of this movie is to have stuff pop out at you.
There's a bunch of shots, for example, where the killer will unsuccessfully, repeatedly, attempt to hit a target with a pickaxe flying towards the viewer, the obvious sole intention of this being the spectacle of the 3D effect. The same can be said about this tree crashing through a car window. You're supposed to be startled by the tree while watching the movie in 3D. In 2D, this shot is just silly, especially since they linger on it. I also sort of wonder if the reason why they have an actress fully nude and running around from a killer is only because it's in 3D.
I mean, it's a mining town in February. It's gotta be really cold out. I mean, at least put on a sweater. You'll catch your death. Well, you did, but, that's not what I meant.
There's some good kills in the movie, but the 3D aspect makes them all seem a bit hokey. Especially when CGI is used to have gore fly out into the audience. CG gore always looks like Jell-O to me. Jell-O is a registered trademark of the Kraft Food Company and has not authorized the use of its name in any way, shape, or form. That said, please sponsor us, Kraft Foods. I'm begging ya. I could use the extra scratch. The easiest way to describe the overall feel of the acting of My Bloody Valentine 3D is intense.
It's fucking nuts, okay? I know that.
Everybody is stone cold serious in this movie. There's just not a whole lot in the way of levity going on. There doesn't seem to be much fondness shared between any of the characters, so you just end up seeing one side of an actor's performance.
Why, Axel, you were always jealous of me and Sarah.
You mean my wife, Sarah? Who lives in my house? Who is mother to my son? Who I share a bed with and have sex with? That's Sarah!
Enough!
Jensen Ackles' acting isn't bad, but he sticks out like a sore thumb as the only famous person in the movie.
It's the typical TV actor appearing in a horror movie to try to branch out into film acting thing.
Jensen Ackles' co-star tried to do the same thing in the same year with that Friday the 13th reboot.
This has been going on since the 90s.
One particularly dumb thing that I miss from the original film is the Nova Scotian accents.
Forget about having a party at all tomorrow night, or you'll be sorry.
It's just not the same hearing Harry Warden said in an American accent.
The score of My Bloody Valentine 3D is a step up from the original, but it's still generic. There isn't even a cover of the Ballad of Harry Warden in the credits, which is a bit disappointing.
I'm about to spoil the endings of the original My Bloody Valentine and its remake, so if you don't want either spoiled, well, skip here.
At the end, Sarah winds up inside the mine in a classic situation. She has a gun drawn, and she's got to figure out who the killer is. Is it TJ or Axel? By this point of the movie, it's revealed that both TJ and Axel have skeletons in their closets that point towards them being the killer.
But in the end, only one of them will turn out to have actual skeletons in their closet.
It turns out that TJ has been in the nut house for the past 7 years because of that run-in with Harry Warden.
He's crazy! He was in an institution!
Oh, that's real nice. Nice try.
This is pretty damning for TJ, but Axel has a bunch of candy boxes in his house, so I guess Sarah's husband could also be the killer. I was pretty uncertain for a while about who the killer would turn out to be, but I figured that since Axel was the killer in the original, it was TJ's turn to be the killer this time around. Also, nobody would suspect the most famous actor to be the killer, so that would logically mean that they would be the killer.
I'm a regular Sherlock Holmes.
So, yeah, it's revealed that TJ is the killer when he doesn't get his story straight.
How did you know that Megan was dead?
You told me.
No, I didn't.
You see, TJ has a bit of a Norman Bates thing going on with him, where he'll become Harry Warden, I guess out of guilt for causing the cave-in. It does make a lot more sense than Axel being the killer in the original just because he saw his dad get killed. Anyway, TJ gets blowed up in 3D, but it turns out that he survived and will likely continue the mayhem of Harry Warden before him, in a sequel that may or may not happen.
Maybe direct a video.
My Bloody Valentine 3D is an entertaining slasher film with a bit of a mystery that also happens to kind of be a remake of an obscure Canadian slasher gem. The sort of silly use of 3D is reminiscent of something you'd see at a theme park, and it can get tiring after a while, but the story is pretty engaging. There are some good kills and a decent amount of suspense. I'd say that if you do watch it, it'd be best that you watch it with somebody who hasn't seen many slasher films. It also sort of helps if the person happens to be a fan of Supernatural.
Dr. Wolfula, what would you personally rate My Bloody Valentine 3D?
I give it a Dawson's Creek actor out of Supernatural actor.
I've completed, Meredith's Valentine's Day card, Dr. Wolfula.
Well, give it to her, Ghoulash.
Okay, hey, Meredith. Wait,
Happy Valentine's Day, Meredith, my little sweetiekins. Oh, that's alright. Ghoulash can stay in the dimension for a couple of weeks. It'll give him something to think about.
Who I share a bed with and have sex with. That's Sarah!
Enough!